You're watching Mr. Creepy Official, where the rules don't protect you. They warn you. If you're brave enough to survive this story, prove it, like, share, and subscribe before the darkness finds you. The door that only opens at 3 a.m. If you ever find a door in your house that only opens at 3 a.m., never step through it. Some doors don't lead to another room, they lead to something that's been waiting for you. I moved into the house on Ridgeway Street in early spring. The realtor told me it was built in the 1920s, renovated a few times over the decades, but still creaked and groaned like an old man with bad knees. I wasn't picky, the rent was cheap, and the neighborhood was quiet. For the first few days, it seemed perfect. But then I noticed the door. It wasn't obvious at first glance. It blended into the upstairs hallway, wedged between the bathroom and my bedroom. A plain wooden slab, no handle, no frame, like someone had drawn a rectangle into the wall and then forgotten to finish it. But when I touched it, the wood was cold. Not just chilly draft cold. It was unnaturally cold, like the chill of a freezer. I laughed it off. Old houses have quirks. Maybe it covered some sealed crawl space or leftover passage from the renovation. But on the third night, I woke up at 3 a.m. sharp to a sound. Creak. It came from the hallway. Half asleep, I cracked my bedroom door and peeked. My heart stuttered. The strange wooden slab that had always looked sealed shut, was now slightly ajar. Just an inch. A thin line of blackness pressed through the crack. Not darkness like the rest of the hallway. This was heavier. Thicker. And then, faintly, I heard it. Whispers. Dozens of voices, layered together, speaking too softly to understand. I wanted to slam my door shut, but I couldn't move. My legs were stone. I just stood there, staring at the slit of impossible dark, until the digital clock on my nightstand ticked over to 3:01 a.m. The door shut on its own. The whispers stopped. And the hallway looked normal again. The next morning, I told myself I dreamed it. Sleep paralysis. Imagination. But when I walked past the wall, I saw something that made my stomach twist. There were faint smudge marks around the wood. As if fingers had pressed against it, pushing it open. That night, I tried to stay awake. Midnight came, then 1 o'clock. At 2, my eyelids were heavy. I sat in bed, staring at the door, and eventually drifted. At exactly 3 a.m., I woke to the same creak. And this time, the door was open wider. Maybe a foot. The whispers were louder too, but still impossible to decipher. My pulse hammered in my ears. I forced myself closer, one step at a time, until I was only a few feet away. That's when I saw it. Inside wasn't just darkness. It was a room. Not just any room. My room. Same bed, same nightstand, same peeling wallpaper. Except it looked older. Rotten. As if time had passed differently in there. And lying in that other bed was me. But when my sleeping copy opened its eyes, they were already staring directly at me. I stumbled back. My shoulder hit the wall. The figure inside sat up, grinning with a mouth too wide. The clock ticked to 3:01. The door slammed shut. I was alone again. The following days were torture. I barely slept, terrified of what I'd see if I did. Every night, without fail, the door opened at 3 a.m. Always wider. Always with those whispers. And every time, my other self was there. Watching. Smiling. On the sixth night, I heard something new. Knocking. 3 sharp raps against the inside of the door, so loud it rattled the wood. I pressed my back against the far wall of my bedroom, staring, praying it wouldn't open further. But then came the whisper. Clearer now. It was my voice. Let me out. The next morning, exhausted and trembling, I went downstairs. My neighbor, an old man named Harris, was sitting on his porch. He looked at me for a long time before finally saying, "You seen it, haven't you?" My blood went cold. What? The door. His voice cracked. It don't belong here. House has rules. First rule. Don't ever open it. I demanded answers, but he only shook his head. Not everyone listens. That's why the last tenants disappeared. Midnight safe. 2 a.m. safe. But 3. Don't go near it. That night, I tried barricading the hallway with furniture. Chairs, a dresser, even a bookcase. Midnight passed, then 1. At 2:59 I held my breath. At exactly 3 o'clock, the air in the hallway dropped ice cold. And then, from behind the barricade, I heard the creak. The furniture groaned. Books toppled. The door was pushing against everything. Trying to open. The whispers grew so loud they felt like they were inside my skull. And through the cracks of the barricade, I saw an eye. Pale, sunken, unblinking. Watching me. The clock ticked to 3:01. Silence. I thought I'd won. But the next night, the whispers started earlier. 2:30, then 2:15. Each night they crept closer to midnight. And last night, the door didn't wait until 3 a.m. It opened at 11. And this time, my other self stepped halfway through. The first time my other self stepped through the doorway, I didn't move. I couldn't. It was like looking in a mirror, but the reflection had been warped. His skin was pale and gray, stretched too tight over his bones. His eyes looked like mine, but they didn't blink. And that grin, wide, unbroken, like his mouth had been carved too far back. He stood in the hallway, head tilted, studying me. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body betrayed me. Then the clock clicked to 3:01. The figure jerked, like someone had yanked invisible strings, and was pulled back into the darkness. The door slammed shut, rattling the floorboards. And I was left shaking, drenched in sweat. The next day, I called the realtor. I demanded to know if anyone had ever complained about the upstairs door. She hesitated, then admitted something. There was a family here before you, she said softly. The Jacobs. They left suddenly. No forwarding address. Just disappeared. We thought they abandoned it. When I asked if it had anything to do with the door, her voice dropped. Don't go near it. If you can, leave. That's all I'll say. Then she hung up. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the living room with every light on, staring at the clock. When 3 a.m. came, I swore I heard the creak of wood even from downstairs. And then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, dragging against the upstairs floorboards. I gripped the arms of the couch. My mouth went dry. The footsteps stopped directly above me. And then, faintly, a whisper slid through the ceiling. You can't hide forever. I knew I had to test it. I couldn't live like this, terrified every night. So the following evening, I set an alarm for 2:55. I sat outside the door with a flashlight, camera in hand. I was going to record whatever happened. At 3 a.m. sharp, the door creaked. The seam split open, blackness pouring through. And then the camera shorted out. Screen dead. Batteries fried. The whispers hissed, louder this time. Dozens of voices weaving in and out, like a chorus of the damned. Then a hand reached through. My hand. But the skin was cracked, nails blackened. It pressed against the floor, pulling the rest of the body out. My other self stepped fully into the hallway. But behind him, I saw more. Figures, dozens of them, crowding in the dark. Some were missing eyes. Others had mouths sewn shut. All of them staring straight at me. I bolted into my bedroom, slamming the door, pressing my weight against it. The whispers pressed closer, scratching at my skull. And then, silence. When I dared to open the door, the hallway was empty. But now the wall where the strange door had been was gone. And in its place was an open, yawning passage, black as ink. I didn't sleep for days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that endless black. I knew I should leave, but something pulled at me. Curiosity. Fear. Maybe both. On the seventh night, I couldn't resist anymore. At 2:59, I stood at the threshold. At 3 o'clock exactly, I stepped through. Inside, the air was thick and damp, like a basement that had never been aired out. The hallway stretched in both directions, lined with doors. Each door looked different, some rotten wood, some rusted metal, some smooth and white like bone. And from behind each door, I heard voices. Crying. Laughing. Whispering. I walked, heart hammering, until I came to one that looked identical to mine. I pushed it open. Inside was my bedroom. But the version of me lying in bed wasn't asleep. He was dead. Eyes open, skin rotting, jaw unhinged in a silent scream. I stumbled back, gagging. And then the whispers shifted. They weren't random anymore. They were chanting, all together. Replace him. Replace him. Replace him. I ran. Down endless halls, past countless doors, until I found one with light seeping through the cracks. I shoved it open, and there was my world. My hallway. I dove through. The door slammed shut behind me. I was safe. Or so I thought. At first, everything looked normal. My hallway. My room. The morning sun streaming through the window. But when I went downstairs, Harris, my neighbor, was waiting on the porch. He stared at me like I was a stranger. You shouldn't have gone through, he whispered. You're not him anymore. I tried to argue, but then I caught my reflection in the window. And my smile was too wide. My eyes were too dark. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've tried to pretend. To live normally. But people notice. My friends keep asking why my laugh sounds different. Why I stare too long. Why I don't blink enough. And every night at 3 a.m., I feel it. The door isn't outside anymore. It's inside me. Opening wider. Letting something else through. And I don't know how much longer I can stop it.